Hi, it's Etharal here for EGN, and today we are back with our Crusader Kings 2 Warhammer Let's Play, where we are obviously playing through as a Count of Middenheim, Peter Skinster. So we're just getting everything set up here. We're just going to declare war. We managed to get the claim on this land here, so we're actually going to look at trying to do this so that we can actually, Peter can actually sort of say that he has actually managed to expand his land. We're just trying to sort out our commanders and everything, though. He realises, obviously, while he does have a lot larger army than this person, it is very much a case that she is unfortunately not. Unfortunately, his armies are not being led by the most skilled of people. For some reason, there seems to be something happening there where it's a case that his commanders that he has announced aren't actually willing to sort of lead the army and everything, which is causing a little bit of a problem. But, we can deal with that, obviously, as it's all happening and everything. So, just going to try and Peter's going to send out, obviously, all the commands for these people to meet his army in the field, lead these sort of 2,800 odd men or so, to be able to actually bring them to a point where they can, hopefully remove these guys who are obviously attacking our capital, which is obviously not something that we want to allow. So we're going to have to get this to a point where, we can hopefully try and, he tries to get these commanders as much as he's able to. Eventually, though, we'll just sort of end up just giving up, basically, and deciding that, he's going to lead these men himself. He probably has the best martial abilities in the land anyway, so if he's going to, if it's going to be done, he might as well do it properly, although admittedly he is a guy of 60 now, so I'd imagine he is more leading from the back rather than leading from the front, to say the least there. They obviously managed to raise a small little force to threaten us, nothing too major there, like 50 odd men. We're going to also, as well as at the same time, our eldest daughter, we do find out that she is actually sort of 6 now, so she is actually able to, be put into education. So we are going to have her be educated in her mother's court, send her out of the actual city, and send her out of the land, although in effect us and Eisenbuttel are basically by this point in effect the same land with the same heir. We've obviously been married to our wife for more than a little length of time and everything though, so that's just something we'll obviously have to deal with until they are, like I say, in effect the same land, but we'll have to deal with them not being the same land for a little while just yet. So we are going to, obviously here, as you can see, we are actually besieging these lands. We've already got sort of a good 76% war score there. So, Peter is pretty confident that, this is going to be a pretty simple job to try and attack these guys. We'll obviously have to keep this going a little bit until obviously we're at a point where we can actually be able to take over the land and demand that we gain the title for it, and thereby actually expand our lands to the point where they are in a really decent place and are actually beyond what they are in the actual beyond themselves sort of thing, beyond just the one duchy, and starting to expand there. However, obviously what's happened, but of course a beastman has declared war on us for coming out of the forests in the northern Warhammer, so in the northern Empire, which obviously for anybody familiar with Warhammer does know that there is sort of a big forest there with a quite large beastman presence, although thankfully they are beaten back. Obviously they are one of the 2 presences of beastmen in the land. There's also the other one, which is sort of southwest Athel Lauren for the Wood Elves. They obviously have quite a lot of dealings with the Wood Elves and everything, but obviously I won't go into that as that's not really something that's sort of affecting us here. And one thing we are looking at doing here is we are going to be changing around our succession laws. Reason being is basically because our guys are, not actually able to, potentially lands were going to get split and things like that, with obviously the actual one of our daughters inheriting the land of Mittelwig, and so that's not something we particularly want to be allowing or anything like that. I mean, it's not a bad thing as such, but still do want to try and keep them under the one ruler as much as we are possibly able. And also as well, At the same time, we're looking at some other ways to be able to expand our land. Obviously, there are 2 points, which are one north of the river that is not actually controlled by us, and then also as well there is land to the east of us which are controlled by another guy. We are going to have to look at bringing those back into our fold so that we can unify them under the official duchy and everything like that. We can very easily declare war on those 2. However, it's obviously getting them into a point where they can actually be, actually be attacked successfully, as they do, like they have larger armies than us. And so this woman, however, here, finding out about her is a case that we do discover that she is by herself with a very small army and no allies. So Peter does decide, you know what, we are going to bring these people back into the fold and then hopefully be able to, get a decent bit of the actual land. And there you can see that we have managed to take down a couple of their commanders and everything, which puts us in a very good position. And so we are going to take these 2,000 men and besiege this land, and therefore we will actually be able to get to a point where we are, got a good solid chunk of land. And it's safe to say that it is actually a case that Peter is going to actually be able to pass on land to his son, and he's going to have increased his land, which is quite impressive given that he is obviously well into sort of his late 50s by now. Something he is a little bit sort of probably safe to say worried about, that he's going to pass away, his son will still be young, he's probably never going to see his son grow to adulthood. He's well aware of that. Although it would be nice, at the very least, that he does be able, that he is able to actually improve his land for his son, if nothing else, and improve their standing in Middenheim. Obviously, with the hope that one day they could potentially become what is in effect the Elector Count of Middenheim. Obviously, in this it does say Emperor. I don't think they've changed the titles around quite correctly. Obviously, as we know from the High Elf playthrough that I did, where the King of the High Elves is called the High King rather than the Phoenix King, which obviously isn't quite accurate, but it's close enough and everything for it to be okay. And then obviously, as you obviously know, the hope is that one day we can actually be able to claim the whole of the empire and become the emperor, and that which would definitely be a very, very good thing to get to do. And so just sort of checking out, double checking, making sure that our guy is actually there. This, you can see here, to the east of Isenbuttel, this guy has actually managed to claim both of these 2 lands and unify them. So I think this is probably going to be the next guy that we're going to look at wanting to actually take down. But, we'll obviously, hopefully that's probably going to be quite a while away. You can see there that our lands have expanded. We are going to be able to claim, if we can claim sort of 2 or 3 duchies, we're going to be in a quite nice, strong place. And it's something that I definitely would like to look at doing at some point, but we will have to take everything as we go. We do manage to as well have a new court priest, as the guy we've managed to find is actually better. He came to us and sort of demanded the title, which we were more than happy to oblige with. So we are going to send our diplomat guy to Sildwald, or Sidewald. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that one. I'm probably pronouncing all these names horribly wrong, but close enough really. So we're going to send him there to be able to start getting claims into this land. These are people that we do think that if we could get claims before he manages to become an adult, then we would actually be able to attack him without him being able to call in any allies and things, which would put us in a lot better position on that side of things. And obviously, as soon as he can become an adult, he can obviously marry and then form an alliance with other people, which obviously is not something that we want to do really. It will just be a case that it will make him a lot harder to actually attack in the long run. So please as well, we'll just mention that of course if you do have anything you do want to see me do feel free to let me know in the comments below, and of course do feel free to subscribe and everything, as I am putting out videos pretty regularly for you all there. And so back in this game though, you can see here we're just arranging sort of the education of our children. Another Emma here has actually getting to an age where she is able to be starting to be educated and things like that. So we will have to, start looking at getting her trained, ready to be married off. I think it's going to be a case that she is going to be married to somebody outside of the king, and then obviously Moranion is going to be married to somebody, a courtier in that, who obviously can then make sure that it's a matrimonial marriage, so that we are, she is going to form another branch of the Skinster family. And so we're just going to see how everything's going here. As you can see, there has been another Beastman uprising. Thankfully, though, it was taken down with relative ease without us ever needing to actually join in on it or anything like that at all. And so we're going to see how this is all going up in the north, up in Middenheim. The actual sort of elected count of Middenheim is in a pretty good place himself, so we're not too worried about that or anything like that at all. And here we're just going to look at trying to improve our lands. We are obviously the actual count of all of these different places, so we rule them all directly, other than obviously Coburg, which obviously we've just managed to bring into as a countess vassal of ourselves. But the other ones, we're going to look at improving these lands. Obviously, let's say Peter very much does want to pass on to his son lands that were better than when he claimed them, and preferably obviously expanded, which obviously we have managed to do. So his goals, I think it's safe to say, are pretty much met. He's well aware that now his family line, it is going to actually be able to continue, which is always a definite good thing. And then also as well, they are going to be in a slightly better state than they were when he actually took them over and has ruled them. Obviously, I'd like to think he's probably ruled since being quite a young man and just been so focused on actually ruling the kingdom that he's never actually managed to, really expand. And so here, just there you can see the size of the empire, of exactly what it would be. We'd need to sort of claim to be able to actually claim that we were the true emperor. And obviously with all the elected counts and things like that, the empire at this stage is very much split sort of separately, and obviously it's all not really, even though there are emperors, they're not really the true emperors in the way of anybody obviously who knows about the Warhammer lore would really sort of understand it. It does work very much more like the Holy Roman Empire in the actual, actual real world, where they are all nominally the same, although in actual fact they are all very, very different. And so we're just going to sort of keep going here. You can see this war is not going too great, but it's there we go. It has managed to now turn itself around. It was at Mainz, obviously, and then we've managed to attack and pretty much wipe them out. And so it's actually a case that we are now in a point where we are sort of pretty much done with that war, or Middenheim, I should say, is done with that war. And so we are going to just, consider, sort of have a look at some of the different options, what we can do. I mean, the ideal situation here would be as if we can at least live long enough to be able to train our actual son a little bit, and then obviously be able to pass him off to a regent and everything. Do need to make sure that obviously we have the best regent in play. Obviously it needs to be somebody that Peter knows he is going to be able to trust to look after his realm until his son is able to actually take control of it. Have decided to use he does decide to designate his steward as the actual regent, reason being that way it is a case that at the very least we are going to be able to know that we can keep all of the lands directly for ourselves without needing, hand them off to other vassals and things like that, and they shouldn't get any, negative modifiers or anything like that one at all. And so here you go, we can see here, obviously our son has actually gotten to the point where he is able to be educated. He is 6 years old now, so he's got another 10 years of being educated before he will actually, become part of sort of the adult, he will come to adulthood and then be able to actually take over the throne directly himself. But for the minute, we're going to sort of raise him for as long as possible, and who knows, I mean, in this case we would have to be well into our sort of 70s if it was something that we were able to do and, survive long enough for him to become an adult. One thing as well that my husband does, my guy does actually realise, Peter does realise, is that his wife has actually became celibate after the troubles that she had with Peter's birth, which is an excellent situation for me to be in. It's not a brilliant situation, for her, obviously, in an actual real sense, but, it is very much a case that it means she will not sort of have any more children, and if I was to die quite long before, which is more than likely that one really, it is still a case that it will be myself who does actually take over the throne or the county of Isenbuttel, which is pretty much exactly where we want everything to be. So, you know, Peter, we're going to sort of keep ticking over here with Peter. He is in a really good place though. He's not, you know, in any worries or anything like that. He can actually pass away now, finally knowing that he is going to be able to sort of pass on the land that will be actually respected and begin to form a dynasty that may actually be able to last through the ages. He's ruled for a good sort of 16 years that we've obviously been playing, but it would be nice obviously to be able to get him to a point where he can rule for a little bit longer, and then our family can last for centuries. So that is pretty much where we're going to leave it for today. So do hope that you did obviously enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it, please do be sure to subscribe, obviously putting out videos at least 2-3 times every single week, and hope you're obviously enjoying them. I'm on a bit of a Warhammer kick at the minute though, so thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time here at EGN.